Welcome to Banfield. There is one man tonight who holds the keys to world stability, a man who appears unflappable, laser-focused, and mysterious tonight, as mysterious as he's ever been about his next move. Vladimir Putin is playing mind games and war games with an estimated 150,000 Russian troops ringing the border with his neighbor, Ukraine. It seems everyone is on edge about the possibility of an attack. But Putin himself seems cool as a cucumber. And that might be because no matter what happens, he's got it made. Sanctions don't really seem to quite impact a man whose rumored getaway home is a $1.4 billion mansion on the Black Sea. While the world waits to see if there's a war on his Western Front tomorrow, Putin himself could be enjoying 190,000 square feet of luxury on 170 seaside acres. I say could because the Russian president continues to deny reports that this is his secret vacation home, paid for by oligarchs and wealthy friends, and more opulent than anything we ever saw in Saddam Hussein's Baghdad. And the only reason we're actually seeing it tonight is because the man who continues to be a thorn in his side, Alexei Navalny, the jailed leader of Putin's opposition, well, he got his hands on these images and then he released them for the world and for the Russian people to see. Since the airspace is closed overhead, his group had to go out by boat onto the Black Sea and then launch a drone to capture these shots. Navalny also says he has the actual receipts for the custom-made Italian furniture that fills the estate wall to wall. The mansion, and I hope you're sitting down, comes complete with 11 bedrooms, multiple living rooms and dining rooms, a theater, an indoor hockey rink, a pool, a gym, that's the easy stuff, an amphitheater, a vineyard, an arboretum, a greenhouse, a sculpture garden, a tasting room built into the side of a cliff, a full casino, a cocktail lounge, and a strip club. Yeah, that's a strip pole. And then just for good measure, for the next morning after the strip club, he thought well enough to build a church. If, of course, it's his. But yeah, it has its own private church. It also features a 260-foot-long bridge. And that bridge leads to the guest house. But you will be slumming it in the guest house because that shack is only 27,000 square feet. Kind of a nice place if you can get it, especially on a former KGB spy's salary. But Putin's exact wealth is unknown because it's been estimated to include at least $200 billion worth of ill-gotten gains. It's also been rumored that he's paid off mistresses and baby mamas to a tune of $1 billion. So it's kind of hard to imagine when the United States president spoke today about the financial consequences that President Putin will face if he decides to invade Ukraine that will make a lick of a difference to him.
If Russia proceeds, we will rally the world to oppose its aggression. The United States and our allies and partners around the world are ready to impose powerful sanctions.
Well, that sounds tough, but would it matter to Putin if money's no object to him? Kathryn Stoner is a professor of political science at Stanford University and just so happened to write the book, Russia Resurrected. All right, Professor, I keep thinking about this man and his life and the war games he's playing, what he's doing on all these borders with real people's lives. And I really wonder if anything happens, does anything really affect him?
So, yes, it does. Anything that affects the Russian economy will affect him, even though he is an authoritarian leader at this point. And as you mentioned, he jailed the man whose organization took the photographs of his wonderful palace down there on the Black Sea, if it's his palace, as you said. So the other thing is that he doesn't necessarily have all of that money in Russia. He has it in banks around the world. We know that there are Swiss bank accounts, for example, from the Pandora Papers and the Panama Papers that came out a few years ago that tracked some of the wealth of some of his very close friends So depending on where the money is and where what our intelligence thinks of where the money is, then sure, he could have his assets frozen or made, maybe even confiscated. So it does seem possible that sanctions against him personally would actually do him some damage. Yeah.
Yeah, hard to know like what that damage would actually feel like. I mean, none of us can ever imagine really living like he lives. So that got me thinking, what would these oligarchs and really wealthy friends be getting out of paying for that $1.4 billion weekend house? Like, what kind of deals are they making, and why would anyone spend that much money on the president?
Sure. So that particular property has been under construction for about 17 years. It has a long history, and you showed some of the photographs that have come out in a new video that Alexei Navalny's team put together. But of course, last year he produced a very in-depth video called Putins Palace that looked at the property overall. And as you mentioned, they had to approach by boat. So now, since that video came out and Navalny was jailed just hours before it was released, one of Putin's very good friends, Mr. Rottenberg, has claimed that he actually owns the property, and the intention of for the property is that it become a hotel. But it is kind of interesting that there are two-headed Russian eagles in almost every room of the hotel. That's of course the imperial symbol of Russia. I think what you're showing, or what you just showed, that mound, that green mound, is apparently a hockey rink. It's a sunken indoor hockey rink. Mr. Putin's a big fan, and he learned to play hockey as an adult. And so he brings his cronies together frequently to play hockey, and we can now sort of tell who's who by how many goals they're allowed to score. He, of course, scores the most. So what would they get?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And he rides the horses the best, and he's the best hunter. And, who's going to argue with that? Listen, the place is stunning, but I have a tough time understanding how it could be a hotel when there's only 11 bedrooms with all that square footage. What is it, 190,000 square feet? So here's my question.
That's a fair point.
Forbes and all of the other Bloomberg types out there are able to assess just about everybody in the world and their wealth, and they seem completely stymied by him. They seem like they just can't put even a big window on, what his range might be. So what's the best guess, the best estimate, and how would he actually, how would we ever figure it out? How would we even make those estimates?
Right. So people say 200 to 400 billion is, but that's a wild estimate, and it's
pretty big.
And what happens is, there's actually Russian state officials are supposed to report their income from all sources, and so he does that, and so of course his official reported income is just his income from being president of Russia, and he has an apartment. I think also in St. Petersburg, and a few cars. So where would such a palace like this come from? Well, he doesn't put the money in bank accounts in Switzerland or, let's say, Vladimir Putin. They are, the money is stored in accounts of trusted friends. So, you asked earlier, so for example, one of them is a cellist, a concert cellist, and he puts Yo-Yo Ma to shame in terms of his personal wealth and income. He's definitely the wealthiest cellist in the world. And then, what do people who might also put money into this property get from Mr. Putin? Well, their wealth is dependent on him being president. So sometimes they'll have private concerns like Mr. Rottenberg, but they get preferred access to state contracts. So they'll inflate the price of the contract. Let's say it's construction for the Olympics in Sochi. If building a building costs, I don't know, $1 million, they'll say it's going to cost $1.5 million, and then they'll take the extra proceeds from the difference of the actual cost and what they said it cost. So that's how they make money off the state, basically. And so having him be head of state means that they're assured preferential access to state assets.
Sure. If anybody, released the secret, weekend home of the American president that was in the hundreds of millions, the whole country would freak out. But I really wonder what Alexei Navalny is going to get out. Well, maybe. Yeah, who knows? But what's Alexei Navalny going to get out of this? Because you have to have iron guts to do the things that Alexei Navalny's doing. And he's sitting in a jail cell while just today even being, charged yet again with, I think this one's a fraud. They say nearly $5 million of theft. They say of public donations from organizations that he founded. Who knows how legitimate those charges are. But what will it do if the Russians get to see all of this opulence? What will it get Alexei Navalny? Will he actually, will this be in vain?
Well, what it won't get him is out of jail, of course. But that's not the goal. And so you said it's who knows whether that alleged fraud case is accurate. I would venture to say we know that it's not accurate, that he did not embezzle funds from organizations that he's founded. He's the face of the political opposition right now in Russia. And so he's a very gutsy man. He's very brave. He is, as you mentioned, in prison. He had previously been poisoned by the Russian state. And we know this pretty concretely because he actually managed to disguise his voice and interview the person or one of the people who was on the team of the Federal Security Service that actually administered the poison. He's in jail now because he was charged with violating his parole on an earlier politically motivated suit where he was alleged and convicted of embezzling yet more money, which of course he never did. And the European Court of Human Rights has even said he's been denied due process. So he was told that he had violated his parole. He was in a coma in Germany, recovering from having been poisoned by the state. So that's how he violated his parole, in a coma. When he came back to Russia, which was incredibly brave about a year ago, he knew he was going to be instantly arrested. And then he released that video of Putins Palace. And just a few days ago, they've released some more photos of it. Yeah. So, this is not going to get him better treatment or out of prison anytime soon.
No, but I can see his face on a flag for many, many years. That's for sure. Kathryn Stoner, great to talk to you. You sure do know a lot about this. And I have a feeling in the next few days, we're going to need to know a lot more. So thanks for being on. We'll call you again.
That's right. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.